of a Christian militia group. Just a short time ago, those charges were unsealed in a Detroit courtroom. Susan Candiotti joins me once again with the details of these arrests. Now, it looks like 9 guys were actually named, right? What do we know about them?
Well, the breakdown is this. 6 people arrested out of Michigan, 2 out of Ohio, and 1 in Indiana. And according to this indictment, they're saying that this group called Hutaree is described as a right-wing Christian militia group. And they said that they considered local, state, and law enforcement authorities as the Brotherhood, and that they considered them as the enemy, and they wanted to engage them in battle. And so here's the scenario that the government says they were involved with, that they plan to kill a law enforcement officer as part of this conspiracy. And then that would prompt a funeral to take place. Then the members of this group would then target the additional people who would show up to the funeral by using explosive devices, homemade bombs, this kind of thing. And that they would attack even more law enforcement officers. Now, the people involved involves a couple's 2 sons, and these other people as well. They said that as part of it, the leader of the group that they identify as a David Stone is alleged to have used the internet to look up how to make these explosive devices, and then he would email the diagrams to someone that the government says he thought could help make this device. So that could indicate that perhaps there was an inside operation going on, perhaps an informant. It's unclear at this time, but that then the leader of the group sent the others out to pick up the ingredients to make these homemade bombs. So we know that they appeared in court today, and that this would have been their first appearance. Ultimately, they would face, because of these explosive devices, which are considered weapons of mass destruction, potentially life in prison if convicted.
You know, for such a long time, we've been talking about extremist groups popping up here in the United States, tied to 9/11 and
even farther back, the Oklahoma City bombing.
Yeah,
that's when
we
started here.
Recently, right? I mean, it's been had a Middle Eastern tie to the U.S. troops in Iraq and Afghanistan. Now, all of a sudden, now the blue in the Midwest, as if you look at the video, all these white men dressed in fatigues, you know, playing this music and talking about their mission. I mean, what do you...
In fact, in this case, it was an they considered there to be an Antichrist in their midst, and they wanted to
we haven't
do
seen
something
one of these in a long time.
We haven't, but there are groups that study this, organizations that study this, including the Southern Poverty Law Center. And they put out a study fairly recently, and they said that there's been a real resurgence in these groups. 360 that they counted. Yeah, well, they're saying one reason is because of the sort of rebirth of an anti-immigrant fervor. And then still others are convinced that the government, once again, as they did many years ago, at least 10 years ago, 15 years ago, trying to take over things. And so it's the us versus them mentality.
So we have to not only worry about Al-Qaeda overseas, now we have to worry about our own people who are in the U.S. With weapons of mass destruction as well.
It's a problem, obviously, and according to prosecutors and the FBI, this group was planning to take out whatever grievances they had against federal, local, and state law enforcement.
Well, we'll still follow it with you, Susan. I appreciate it.
Well, new developments today on a frightening story out of the Midwest. The FBI launching a series of raids over the weekend against an anti-government militia, arresting at least 9 people. New videotape coming into Fox News. Here you can see family members leaving the courthouse in Detroit after several suspects appeared before the judge earlier. Sources close to this investigation say the militia members were plotting to kill police officers and then show up at their funerals to kill the officers that came there to mourn. The raids took place in Ohio, Michigan, and Indiana. Neighbors of the group in Michigan say they were pretty much in the dark.
They would have their get-togethers every couple of weeks. If they're militia, I don't know. I can't, say for certain. Being a small community, it's surprising that something like this can happen.
Law enforcement officials say they are still pursuing other suspects.
The healthcare bill is passed. Now what? Only one news network gives you the story straight. Truth doesn't take sides. Facts aren't just red or blue.